Okay. Time value of money, challenge problem, CFA level 1. So let's take a look at this problem here. It looks pretty intimidating upon first glance. So we're going to see what's going on with this. I think you'll be confident that this is not quite as bad as it looks once we get into solving it here. So let's read what it says. A company's dividend in 1895 was 80 cents. Over the next 8 years, the dividends were 81 cents, 89 cents, $1.12, 95 cents, $1.09, $1.25, $1.33, and $1.30. Calculate the annually compounded growth rate of the dividend over the whole period. So this looks pretty intimidating. Like we said, it's not a very friendly looking question. The reason is because they gave us all of these numbers here, from 81 all the way through, starting with 80 all the way through $1.30. So that's just kind of scary. That's a lot of calculations. We would need to consider every number in this sentence, in this question, if we were calculating the geometric return. So the geometric return would require all of these intermediate calculations, and it would just be really a mess. But we're not doing that. The question asks for the annually compounded growth rate. So this is often called the CAGR, the compound annual growth rate. And we have our last value. The formula is last value over the first. And then we need to raise that to 1 over the number of periods. And lastly, we need to subtract 1. So this is a formula that's going to be used a lot on the exam. I would highly recommend that students memorize this one, because it's going to come in handy. And it's only got, really, it's basically just a fraction with an exponent. And it's not too different from normal percent change calculations, because we have the -1. So it's really pretty similar, which is the good news. So all we need to do is start putting these values into the formula. Our last value was $1.30. And we're going to put that over 80 cents. We're going to raise it to 1 over the number of periods, which is there's 8 years given in the formula. And we're going to subtract 1. So as you can see, 0.8 goes into 130, 1.3, not quite twice. So we're going to punch it in our calculator, but we're first going to take a look and estimate what we think it should be, which is always a good habit. And then use your calculator to double check yourself. So 1.625, we're going to raise that to 1 over 8 and subtract 1. What you should get when you do this is 0.0625.7. So obviously this is in decimal form. So candidates definitely need to be familiar with converting decimals to percentages. Essentially, all we do is move the decimal place over twice, or we could also multiply by 100. So either way, we're going to get 6.25678 to be exact. Rounding it up, it basically looks like it's going to be 6.3%. So the question is not as bad as it looks upon first glance. Another thing that a lot of candidates get confused on is how do we know to use 8 years? So we're trying to capture the amount of growth that happened in each of these 8 years. So I always recommend doing a timeline. This just helps you straighten out your thinking and get the question right. the first time. So we've got our beginning and our end. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is probably too many. Here's our year, but this is why we do timelines, so we can understand what's going on exactly. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, perfect. So we need the growth for this year. That's 1. From start, from time 0, which is always today. So time 0 is another way of saying today. So this is 1 period of from 0 to 1, then 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, and 7 to 8. So if you count these, you've got 2 groups of 4. Add those together, and you get 8 years for which there's a value change, ending at year 8. So that's how we know. It's also just given in the question. So this is a way that you can think through just in case you're confused. Some candidates, they might throw an extra year in there, or they might not count the 0. Basically, people are overthinking things. As candidates, you're not sure what you should be focused in on. But if you're ever in doubt, practice making timelines. This may not be great for test day because it's a little time consuming, but it will help you know for sure while you're practicing that you are using the right amount, the correct amount of periods. Sometimes the wording in here will change. It could say a company's dividend was 80 cents at the end of a particular year, or what is the value at the beginning of year 7 or 8. And it's good to just go through this thing. This is really what makes this problem more challenging in my mind, aside from the fact that we need to know that we just have to ignore the compound annual growth rate does not take into account any of the intermediate values. We don't care if we've been going up or down. We don't care how wild we've been swinging. All we care is what is this trend line? And we do that by connecting the first point and the last point and getting the proper periods.